Hello wonderful people, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be doing an honest review of the recently released Space Laces mix slash mini album thing, Vaultage 4. Just before we get into the review, yeah, you've seen the title and you might be wondering, Connor, what the hell's going on? What is this about? Well, this is a potentially new fixture for the channel, a new kind of review altogether. I wanted to have a space on the channel again where I was reviewing things properly, having heard them multiple times. Not just on a first listen, which has made up the bulk of what I've been doing on the channel for the last couple of years or so. And yeah, you know, proper reviewing, talking something through, having heard it quite a few times. I think the channel's been lacking that. And the aim with these videos is to be real with my more developed thoughts on a particular project. Still keeping it respectful, but very much saying it as it is from my own perspective. And hopefully I can deliver on the promise of that general video title. All that to say, if you enjoy this video, you enjoy the general video concept and you want to see more of it, please do let me know in the comment section down below. But yes, Vaultage 4 will be the first project to get the honest review treatment. And yeah, I've had a few more days to kind of sit on it and stew on it a little bit, if you will. And I guess an initial question from you guys watching this video might be, well, what is there to be honest about? Or question. He's the best. This mix, yet again, is sensational and incredible. And that's all there is to it. But no, no, no. This is a music discussion channel. We want to discuss music here. And you can't stop at that point. Especially when we're talking about something like Vaultage 4, where there are so many layers and just so much going on beyond Space Laces being, yeah, incredible. Which, by the way, I do want to be completely clear off the bat here. That is absolutely 100% predominantly what I am saying here. He is incredible. But I have found myself checking that thought just a little bit each time I've gone through it. Not as a comment on Vaultage 4 kind of outright, but more to contextualize it with 1, 2 and 3 and just how it differs notably from those first 3 mixes. Which is evident of course through the length of it alone, Vaultage 4 coming in at basically twice the length of any of the other mixes that have come before it. And going into it, on the surface we're all like, oh yay, twice as much Space Laces material, this is going to be amazing, it's going to be incredible. But that does affect the makeup of a given mix completely, and how it kinda pads out over a given runtime. Because essentially what he's done here is transform the mix series from an EP format, 15 to 20 minutes or so, where you get a selection of bangers and they're all kind of concentrated into a smaller space and the impact of each drop, each new track is felt a lot more, to an album format that feels more drawn out, more enduring, maybe tells more of a story, gets you more invested in the longevity of it, and kind of gives body to a bigger picture. Something that is reflected through the narration on Vaultage 4 with the introduction, of course, but the outro as well, on Untouchable with lyrics and vocals from Mr. Slider himself, which is very cool, if you didn't know that already, and other little points across the mix here and there that pertain to a particular tale. The narration on 1 to 3 has also been epic, but a little bit more vague with the message, whereas here, it feels that bit more focused. Also important to note is that I think there isn't any meme-y kind of vocal usage here. No like, John Cena, or no like, gosh, that's lovely. Because he clearly wants to keep the world building with this particular mix, number 4, as serious as possible. And I don't think there's anything here, vocal-wise at least, that kind of takes away from that. But then we also have the visuals, which create a world unlike anything offered or provided by the first 3 mixes, quite frankly. Massive, ginormous shout out to Levitate on that, who used to be a producer to my knowledge. Don't know if he's doing that much anymore, but clearly on the graphic design hype right now, had absolutely no idea he was getting involved with this alongside Veltrida or Veltrida, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, a couple of the visual aspects, touches here and there, I'm going to be mentioning later on in the video. But yeah, working through the mix a little bit, and the first main point of note for me would be the introduction, which is so important to get right in a project of this kind. It's maybe also the most difficult part to get right, in setting the tone and everything that comes with that, and boy did he do that and then some. This introduction is absolutely incredible in establishing that element of story right from the very off, with the narration giving a kind of origin story about what I believe to be the warrior who is in the visualizer right at the end for this particular mix, and who is also, I think, on the artwork for Vaultage 3 and this one, number 4, and maybe the artwork for High Voltage EP as well. The transition we get into that first build, and even the build itself, to be honest, and how it's kind of mapped out in a very suspenseful, storytelling kind of way. I mean, it fully gets you in the mood. The vocal as well got a real sense of anticipation about it in its flow, and kind of reminds me of the vocal that we get on Kickback by Ivy Lab. Really good. The first drop that we get on the mix with Force Majeure is just utterly colossal and completely knocks you off your seat. Well, it did for me anyway. If you go and watch the first listen coverage, which is also up on this channel, go and check it out after this video. Pause the mix, had to rewind it because I just had to hear that again. Really heavy on impact. And the transition from there into rewind at a completely different pace that early on, from a heavy AF dubstep into bass house. To execute it that well with that much impact, again, we're talking about different genres here, it's just absolutely stellar as an opening few minutes, and yeah, just genuinely got no notes for it at all. And the visualizer as well, by the way, at that point, the reveal of this huge electrified Voltage sign, absolutely incredible. Again, can't fault it, and yeah, more on that track later. Also wanted to pick up on the ending of Tunnels, the kind of psytrancey track that we get, the transition from that into the Mumblecore swagger of Stacks with Dylan Francis, and then from there we get a transition from that into Garfield with Getter. It is just so fucking naughty. That moment is a real statement for the mix, I think, because you've got a couple of big name collaborations kind of coming directly after another. The tracks in themselves are fucking sick, and the transition from one to another is incredible. Like, genuinely, at that point, I'm sat there thinking, what more could you want? The anthem is another highlight for me personally on the mix, where it's not just the track itself, but the way that it kind of sparks the mix back into life at that point in a very important way, and is just a huge injection of pure Space Lace's energy. I love it. That synth, oh my gosh. And that is the point in the visualizer where the giant werewolf comes into play. That reveal is undeniably for me another one of the very best moments on the whole thing. Those are my personal highlights on the mix, but there are definite lull moments as well. You know, filler bits here and there that pad out the mix just a little bit. And again, it is great that 4 is basically twice as long as the ones that have come before it, but you do have to check that with, for me, the reality that there are a few here that are just fine for him. You know, they help tick the mix over, but they're not really that memorable. Now, once again, I do want to be clear here, within the grand context of bass music, you know, bass music at large, every single drop that we get here is at least an 8 out of 10. That for me is unquestionable, undeniable. But for him and his kind of standard, are there relative lulls within this particular mix? I think also, yeah. Most notable for me would be the Shaolin Fist and Industry Meat Grinder couplet, the energy of which might be why the anthem, which comes directly after, stands out so much. And this bit I just want to remember, so bear with me. But I've called a little bit on Keep It Cool, just a tiny bit, just a little bit. And then you've got Tank after that, which is, you know, just alright for me. Freak Mode, which has maybe my least favourite sound on the whole mix, with that stretchy kind of... I'm not a massive fan of that, it gets a little bit grating on the ear if I'm being honest. And then Ice Pick, I think with Sudden Death after that comes in, and that's also okay as an idea. And then you've got Looking Glass directly after those 4, which is a good drop. I like that one, but the kind of quelled nature of it, even with it being quite catchy, just gives us a chance to reflect on how much of a lull it has been with the previous few, if you know what I mean. I am splitting hairs a little bit, let's be real, but I have to be honest, this is an honest review, and that succession of tunes, I'm just not that big on comparatively with the rest of the mix. That's just what I feel. But again, maybe that's to be expected with a project that is, lest we forget, short album length. As I was mentioning earlier, there's more endurance to this mix in comparison with 1, 2 and 3. And the star quality is less kind of concentrated. So dips that we get in energy or ideas that maybe aren't as wow factory, if you know what I mean, and which kind of tide over a little bit more, might be inevitable. In any story, you kind of have to have peaks and troughs. That's how I'm looking at it anyway. Though talking about individual moments not being quite as good, I do want to highlight the final drop of the whole thing as well on Untouchable. just quickly here. I think the issue for me here is that the setup is so unbelievably good, like really stellar, elite stuff, that I think I'm expecting more of an epic drop for it. There's the hype in itself of him doing the vocals on this track, which I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video. The lyrics here are fantastic. The note choice that he goes on with his vocal to complement the music, it's just incredible. The ginormous build that follows that ramps up so well. And in the visualizer, you've got the warrior as well, and that looks so fucking cool. But, you know, again, I've gone through this thing 9 or 10 times from start to finish, and every time this bit has come around, I have admittedly just been like, meh, I'm not quite sure if the energy is requisite given what comes before. It feels like a little bit of a dip in energy and doesn't quite follow suit for me given what's come before it. The outro though, I do have to say, is glorious. I love the way it kind of winds down in a very calming way, and then you get loads of silence at the end, like maybe 25-30 seconds or so. Really well done, really well managed. Another thing I'd like to note on, and which I've mentioned a little bit already, is the storytelling aspect of this mix in particular, and especially in comparison with 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, for me, it is definitely there in a more focused and kind of concentrated way than with the previous 3 on this one right here. But how much is said story actually fleshed out on this particular mix? We of course get the introduction, clear world building with the narration, we get the outro with the lyrics on Untouchable, like I was mentioning earlier. But how much world building do we get in between that? You could tie something together through the visualizer, I think, maybe, where each individual scene is like a different part of the travails of the mutant warrior, who is the subject of this particular mix series, of course. But then again, if someone said to you that that was a little bit of a stretch, then you wouldn't really say much to that, would you? It just fades a little bit on that front when the beginning is so epic and so incredible in setting that story up. So yeah, that could be a little point of development for future Vaultage chapters or anything similar. Like maybe a full-length album, maybe that's where that comes in. I do completely get and understand that it's very difficult to finish tracks, especially when you're operating at that kind of level with that production quality and that standard, and everything has to be perfect and the story has to be told right, etc. But I do feel like a full-length album, a full-length LP, would make sense as a way of telling this story completely front to back from start to finish, exactly how he sees it. And you know, if he takes that risk, if he takes that leap of faith, and he makes that full body of work like that, 12 to 15 finished cuts, all rounded off, you know, story and narration and lineage, stitching together the whole thing from beginning to end, then who could say really with a straight face that he isn't the very best producer that modern mainstream bass music has seen? And I mean doing that on top of all the Vaultage mix stuff. Like, who else would there be who's comparable, like has albums that are completely storytelling like that? Maybe Nero, Culprit, maybe a bit of Noisier in there to an extent, but you know, it would be at least at top 3, let's be real here. But that might not be on his radar at all, which would be completely fair and completely understandable. It's his project, but I suppose that's just the potential that I see for it. Quick note on the collaborations, because they play an important role here, I think. The Dylan Francis and Chi ones are brilliant, simply for the fact that they bring something completely different and new to the table, not just for Vaultage 4 in and of itself, but for the mix series as a whole. The Getter and G Jones ones I like the ideas of a lot, and the Eptic and Marshmallow ones are good fun also. The rest I'm not particularly enamored by, and yeah, I just find them fine really. Again, let me be clear, just like with the lull moment, that discussion that I had earlier in this video. Sonically, production-wise, absolutely incredible. It's just the ideas, I'm like, yeah, they're alright. Visuals-wise, I did mention the werewolf, really sick moment, love that reveal. Also the warrior at the very end, of course. I did think they were going to have a fight of some sort, that the werewolf was going to kind of emerge behind the warrior at the very end, like what is kind of suggested on the artwork, if you can see it right here. But yeah, still individually, those moments, really cool. Also really enjoyed the giant skull reveal for Bomb with Marshmallow, and the Blood River reveal also. That was very cool for Loose Ends, I think that is. And then beyond that, in the midway point, you've got all of that human mutation kind of imagery. That's just gnarly and gruesome as fuck, but in the best way. Then in terms of my favourite tracks in order, top 5, just going to look at my phone here. Garfield, then Loose Ends, then The Anthem, then Stacks, then Rewind, with honourable mentions going to Sandworm, Whip It and Bomb, which aren't far behind that top 5, sorry. Rewind is my new favourite Space Laces ID. I want that track more than any other right now from him to be made into a full cut. There is so much going on there with such a simple idea. With that melody on Rewind, you get a sense of uncertainty, you get a sense of threat, you also get a sense of hope. All of these emotions are kind of woven into each other and interchangeable with a couple of notes within a few seconds. Like, it is simple again, it is quite simple, but the effectiveness with which it delivers so much with that short amount of time is genuinely incredible. And I watched a little bit of Copandorum's reaction, and he did call this melody corny. And you know, Sven, I love you mate, I really do love you, but goddamn man, that comment, that is unforgivable. And yeah, there we go guys, those are my main points, both good and bad. My overall honest review of Vaultage 4 by Space Laces. I mean, I've given my drawbacks, but realistically, how much else is there out there where I'm going back to it as a whole project, which is over half an hour, again and again and again, and each time I'm going through it, I'm just saying to myself, damn, this guy is so good. Like, how much is that happening? Not very often, I can tell you that. Yet another feat in and of itself, and especially so this time because of the length of it and the visual aspect as well. I haven't talked a lot about the variety of this mix, but that aspect of it is so obviously incredible that it kind of goes without saying. As of course with 1 to 3, but maxed out even further for 4. Still no drum and bass though, no D&B on any of the Vaultage mixes so far, if I remember right, so that is interesting. And when other producers are taking to social media to say stuff like this, you know you're witnessing something generational, you just know it. This is the producer's producer. I think it would be pretty difficult to deny that. And again, for the several drawbacks that I have given for Vaultage 4, that ultimately is the point that I want to hang on and finish on with this honest review, that it is generational. It is a serious feat yet again from him. He is the producer's producer. And yeah, once again, just running out of superlatives, and I suppose maybe the biggest compliment that I can pay it is that I simply can't wait for what he puts out next and where this story goes from here. But there we have it guys, the first honest review on the Nawtystep channel. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you make of this kind of review method, this review format, whether you like it, what you think I could change about it, and also just what you're making of my thoughts and any updated thoughts that you guys have on Vaultage 4. Please do drop them all in the comment section down below. Beyond that, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell along the way so that you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. But yeah, thank you again for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one, whatever that might be. Keep it naughty until then. Peace.